देखिए कफस सिर्फ SonyLIV।
Oh gosh, so the lady I'm joined with today, it just naturally brings a smile to my face. If I know that Mona Singh is in a content, I know it's going to be good. And one such example is Kafas and SonyLIV. So Mona, thank you so much for joining me on Filme Shilmy. It's always so good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate. Thank you, Anuj.
Now, if you remember, Mona, we did an interview for Lal Singh Chadda last year,
I remember.
and we spoke about how literally your mom was a huge inspiration, I think, in playing the character that you did. And I
Yes.
feel like you've really got the knack of playing very strong mother characters, I think, over your career, whether it is Kya Hua Tera Vada or Kafas for that matter. Uh, so again, when it comes to this as well, would you say your mom was once again an inspiration for you in terms of portraying this role?
Always, you see such incidents. I mean, keeping the incident behind, but she's a mother of two girls. It's never easy, and she was always a working mother. So to take care of the daughters, their upbringings, their choices, making them understand how life is, and still be able to fight for yourself, stand for what is right. Put your foot down, draw a line, get out if you feel uncomfortable. All these are our learnings from our mother, because she had been working all her life. So yes, I draw my all my inspiration from my parents and from my mother especially.
hmm I think what the character Sunny goes through, it's obviously, abuse. It's sexual harassment, which obviously is such a horrible thing for anyone to go through.
Yeah,
And I think when you're dealing with such a case and dealing with such a story, I think it obviously requires a lot of sensitivity, which I think you and Sharman have done really well as actors in bringing that essence to. But I think, I would like to delve a bit more into that whole preparation process because obviously for you to ensure sensitivity and to ensure a fine balance and not be over dramatic, how tough
yeah.
is that for you?
See, here the director's vision comes into place. How has he perceived the story? How does he want to take it forward? And the good thing about OTT these days is that we, as actors, we get a bound script. We get the whole script to read, which is not going to change. And if it is changing, it is only getting better. So, that happens. We have our readings. We have loads of rehearsals. Sahil made sure that because this is such a sensitive topic, he wanted to approach it in a certain way where there are silences, nobody is talking, and I think before we started to shoot, there were almost a, a good 1 month or 2 months of rehearsals with Sahil and the kids. So once we were on floor to shoot, everybody was in the skin of the character. Everybody knew what is going to happen. So I think preparation makes a lot of difference here.
Yeah, and I was going to say because I mean, look, I mean, if we look at the industry as well, I mean, there's been so many cases where, I mean, look at the Me Too movement that happened in
Yes.
cinema. I think that was such a refreshing thing, though. I do think that I really wish a lot more could be done. I think in terms of really bringing down the corrupt and power abusers in the
I
industry.
agree with you.
In fact, yeah, I think let's talk about that a little bit because I think one thing that I have to say is that I read like an interview of yours and you were recounting a very sketchy time in your life where you met someone, I think for an audition or something, and they were very sketchy. I mean, how have you learned to cope with that? And what do you think will give the strength, I think, to people in this industry to really, speak up more and, find that strength to really overcome this?
When I was just starting as a just coming to Bombay, coming for auditions and going back all the way to Pune, I was meeting a lot of different kind of people. You see, my parents don't come from this industry. I didn't know anybody from this industry who I could call or get some contacts from. So you do it on your own and you learn on your own. See, now, of course, things have changed. I've been around for 20 years. Nobody can act silly, and people know that I'm not scared of speaking. Yeah, but
Yeah.
back then, being so naive and vulnerable and coming for the first time to Bombay and having to meet with all these people who are not talking to you nicely or looking at you nicely and trying to, say some things which don't sound okay. So what do you do? I was so scared. I remember not telling my parents about it, but just getting out of the meeting, rushing back to Pune. and telling my sister about the ordeal I had to face. But that did not discourage me for not trying again or becoming an actor. Such things happen everywhere. Of course, industry is famous for this because people know only about the industry or want to know only about the industry or about the actors' lives. But otherwise, such things can happen anywhere. It's happened in our society with a kid where the watchman behaved silly. So what do you do? I just want to tell people that the victim should never be made to feel guilty because that person is the victim. The society should not bully a victim because he's the one or she's the one who's going through hell. Why are we making their life more hell where they get suicidal or they shut all doors and just keep quiet and isolate themselves? I think more power to all the ladies out there who came out with their stories during the movement of Me Too. More power to them and more power for such more conversations to happen. I feel as an actor, it is our responsibility to be a part of such shows as well. It sparks important conversations about mental health, sexual assault, everything. We should take some preventive measures as a society, as people, to protect our own people from these predators.
Right. What would you like to tell those parents as well that maybe impose their dreams on their kids as well? Because I think that's a very important thing I think we need to address here.
It is. I think every parent needs to understand that a child has its own individual path and journey, and every child is different from one another. You cannot impose your dreams to get fulfilled through your kids. Your kids have their own life. I've seen many such parents in this industry who literally force their kids to act, whereas the kid is not even interested in acting. I've seen many parents who quit their job and only want to focus on the kids' acting career, whereas the kid is not interested in acting. You
Yeah.
see, it gives out a very strong message to the society and to the parents about parenting.
Hmm. Absolutely. And if we look at the sort of films that are happening, and I spoke with Sharman actually, and we spoke at length about the renaissance that's happening in Hindi content in particular. Of course, you
Yeah.
have the big budget films which are now appearing, which are doing great. But uske saath saath, we're seeing content which are very hard hitting, almost as if we're introspecting on where we've gone wrong as human beings. I mean, recently we had Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway. We had the Kerala story. We had, Banda, um, uh,
Banda. Yeah.
on Netflix as well. Again, Banda again talks about power abuse and it talks about the sort of
Yes.
thing. Do you think that this movement now, I think with the movement, because we often say how, cinema often mirrors society, right? But do you think now, because of this movement, we could perhaps see a massive change in society now? Do you think this will give courage now to audiences to speak up?
It has to, it has to start conversations. It has to create more awareness. You see, when an actor endorses a brand and the sales go up by 5% for a company, imagine when that actor starts talking about social causes and awareness. What will it do to the society? It is for the betterment of the society. We should start these conversations. Otherwise, there will always be a battle between power and morality. Always.
Yeah, and I think that's something. I mean, even अगर हम हमारे जो scriptures है उनको देखे, I mean, the biggest moral here. I mean, Mahabharata is literally about that, right? It's about that moral
Yeah.
dilemma and righteousness overcoming, evil in the world, and I think
Even yes,
which you can
yes.
always take back. I mean, in any faith, if we take it, I think that's wonderful. But I have to talk about your career, I think, Mona. I mean, I think it's wonderful that it's been what, 20 years since Jassi Jaissi Koi Nahin has.
Exactly 20 years.
We
Exactly.
literally spoke a little bit briefly about it last time, but I want to talk a bit more detail here because your association with
Sure.
Sony has been very, very iconic. I mean, be it Kya
Yes.
Hua Tera Wada, Jassi Jaissi, I think we've definitely, even entertainment ke liye kuch bhi karega, we saw that
Halak
strap,
Dikhla Ja.
Jhalak Dikhla Ja. I feel like your association with Sony has been a huge, I think, breakthrough for you in your career. How would you say you've evolved as an actor and as an artist, I think, since the beginning and since you were discovered for that show?
We all keep changing and evolving and growing with time. It is this time, this 20 years that teaches you a lot about life, about yourself. You travel, you meet strangers, you explore, and you learn. You have so many experiences, and I feel what I was back then in 2003 and what I am now in 2023, there's a huge difference. You know, when if you talk about my acting graph, if you talk about me as a person, I've changed over the years. Of course, my roots don't change, and that never will. But you just keep becoming better with age, with experience. I've worked with such legends in this industry, with great directors, actors. You know, you keep learning, you keep unlearning. I love this whole method. But my association with Sony has been very, very special. You see, now after 20 years, this is my first series on SonyLIV. And I just feel somewhere, you know, life has come to a full circle for me.
Exactly. I was going to literally say that. And you know, I'm glad आपने कहा कि जो आपकी जो जड़ें हैं वो काफी अभी तक मजबूत है. And I
वो
feel
तो वही रहेंगी
हाँ,
because I
ऐसा ही
haven't
होना
changed
चाहिए.
as a person. Yes.
Exactly, नहीं बिल्कुल ऐसा ही होना चाहिए. But you know, that's the beautiful thing about you, Mona, because you know, I feel like you know this industry and the way it works. I mean, of course, there are some wonderful people here too, but you know, it can really be difficult to survive in, and I
It
feel like
is.
एक you know एक you know पत्थर बना देती है एक इंसान को. But I feel like you still not lost that effervescence that you began with. What do you think has
Yeah.
helped you to stay connected to that effervescence and that rooted self that you are?
I think it comes from my parents. It comes from my upbringing, you know, being an army kid and being exposed to so much in life and then getting into this industry. I still remember when Jassi had become an overnight success. It was this one thing my parents told me that, you know, beta, always have your head on your shoulder. Don't let this get to you. Don't take it so too seriously because this is not going to last forever. Enjoy till it lasts. So, you know, from then, from the first year of getting into the industry 20 years ago, the way I was and the way I've looked at my profession is the same. I'm passionate about my job, but I switch off. I come back home. I do my cooking. I take care of my plants. I meet my friends who are not from the industry, and everything just keeps me grounded and calm.
Hmm. And you know, again, if we look back at Kafas as well, for that matter, it's also about how ambition can really overt ambition. You know, I was mentioning Scoop earlier on Netflix, and again, that was another very interesting series which talks
Yeah.
about ambition and how it can perhaps lead you the wrong way. Here again, we sort of see a similar sort of indication about that. But you know, for you, again, how tough has it for you not to get blinded by ambition as well? I mean, do you again, would you say again, credit to your upbringing as well that's helped you again to not get blinded by that?
Yeah, of course. You know, it all roots from there. As how you are as a person. I've never been greedy or selfish. But if you talk about being selfish, then it's only when I think for myself as a character that I want to play. You know, I think I'm the only one who's refused maximum number of roles because I don't want to repeat. I don't want to do the similar things. You
Right.
see, when I Three Idiots, the industry wanted to cast me for the similar kind of role, and I refused. I said, नहीं करना यार मुझे. I don't want to do films where you casting me for the same thing. I said, I'm an actor. I said, make me do something else. So I think it is very important to say no, put your foot down, and stand your ground. I am not dying to work or be in someone's film just to be seen.
Yeah.
I'm here to, yeah, I'm here to showcase what I have, you know, what I bring to the table. And if a director is willing to work with me, I'm there. I'm all ears.
Sure. And I think that's a very interesting point because I feel like, you know, especially actors who have begun from TV, you know, for the longest amount of time, and I don't know why, but they've often been, you know, subjected to doing a certain kind of role on incident.
Yeah,
And I've
yeah,
never understood why that's the case because I feel like, you know, even if we look back at Anupam Kherji, who played like, you know, an elderly father role, you know,
yeah.
when he was
At
very
the
young,
beginning of his career.
you know, and I've never understood because that isn't that what acting is for you to mold into different types of characters and roles. I've never understood this sort of suppression and this boxing that actors from television have faced. Do you feel now that it's changing, or do you think that it's going to take another massive renaissance to completely change that narrative now?
See, you know, I don't know. It's every individual's destiny. I think me as an actor, I have tried everything under the sun. I have tried acting. I've tried acting. I've tried hosting, I have tried participating in shows, I have done theater. Because in my, I feel that in this life, this is all we can do. And this is just one life. So let's try doing things which scare you. What's the worst that can happen? You either fail, or either the show is not good, or you really stand out. So I think every actor should experiment. People get scared of experimenting. People want to look pretty only. They don't understand you're playing a character. I think I was the one who never slept with makeup in any TV show, or woken up with jewelry and sari. When I don't relate, I won't do it. And nobody can force me to do it. So
Yeah.
I think that thought that people have of TV comes from this, that actors are not willing to, let go of their TV avatar, or trying, or want to try something new. They just get scared.
Yeah, and I think also what because I did another interview with another actress as well, and what she was saying is that when someone plays a homemaker role, or when someone is a homemaker in real life, people often don't consider that empowerment, and she doesn't agree with that because she feels that it's her decision. As long as what
Yeah.
she's doing is her decision,
Yeah.
that's what's important. And I feel like that's a very good point because अब हम ऐसे युग में जी रहे हैं, social media का era है. And I feel like, unless if you're sort of going guns blazing, sort of being very vocal, you're suddenly considered a symbol of empowerment, which it is, but also making your decisions on your terms is also empowerment. Do you feel
Yes.
like you've had to battle with that sort of perspectives as well in society and in generally as well, about that whole empowerment situation?
Yes, you see, there have been relatives, there have been people telling my parents that, oh, इसने शादी नहीं करनी है क्या? Oh, ये तो बड़ी ambitious है. Oh, what is she doing in Bombay? When I was coming here to act, they were like, oh, इतनी पढ़ाई करके क्या फायदा है? What is she going to do? And then overnight, when Jassi became a hit, my mom started receiving all the calls. Oh, that we are so proud of her. We love her. She looks like us. People will always try to bring you down. People don't want to see the best in you. They don't.
Yeah.
So what do? It is your fight, it is your struggle, it is your life. What are the things that you can do to change it?
Yeah. And again, if I look at your career as well and the sort of characters that you've done, I feel like in a way there's also been this whole self-discovery aspect where
Yeah.
well, I feel like, she's begun at a very vulnerable place. I mean, take Jessie for that transition that she goes through from being the
Yes.
non-spexy racist girl to like trying to, which I think she looked beautiful in that avatar, by the way. I think I love that avatar. I have to tell you.
Oh.
But the sort of journey that she's had, I mean, even Kya Hua Tera Vada, I remember
Yeah.
when you find out Pradeep has an affair with someone else, it's almost like, you end up finding strength in yourself and you kind of
Yes.
are assured. Why do you think these sort of roles have come your way? Do you think that you've kind of gone through that journey where you've also kind of rejected, misdoings and misbehavior towards you and kind of have found that strength within yourself as well?
No, I just feel people see me as a very strong character, a strong person, who's vocal, who's outspoken, who's there, all full power. So I think which is why they cast me for such roles. And I'm very grateful to all the producers and writers who think of me while writing these strong, powerful roles. Otherwise, I can just be a damsel in distress who needs a hero every time to save her. I'm not that.
Yeah.
I take charge of my life. And even as an actor, I want to showcase that on screen.
Hmm. And how has things been for you? I think, following Kafas as well. I mean, I'm sure there must be a lot of like praises coming your way
Oh,
and all of that. How was
overwhelming experience again. I was saying the same thing even during Lal Singh. My phone was just beeping non-stop. People all across the world were trying to reach and tell me how much they loved my role in Lal Singh. And now the same thing is repeating right after a year,
and
that they have loved us and they've loved the show. What a sensitive performance and beautiful performance. It's always overwhelming to receive these messages and appreciation.
I mean, in Lal Singh, honestly, I have to tell you, you and Bebo were excellent. I think for me, उस film की आत्मा आप दोनों थी, and I think
Arre.
that was the most amazing thing. Like, there's this one scene I remember when I think the whole uproar is happening in Punjab, and you have to cut Lal's
Cut his hair.
That
Oh my
scene,
God.
I mean, that scene, I mean, see, when you go through emotional turmoil like this, even in Kafas as well, there's so many sequences where, you're battling those emotions. How do you zone in and zone out of such heavy characters? Tell me please, I would like to know what goes through your mind at that point.
I I I'm just in the moment. I'm 100% present in the moment. I am Seema Vashisht. I'm not thinking of anything else. I'm not distracting myself with social media or anything in my head. I sit alone in my vanity, or I sit, wherever in the set. I find a nice corner. I keep to myself. But after that shot is done, or after that heavy scene is done, I switch off. And one has to switch off, because otherwise you're carrying that entire baggage with you back home, and you don't want to talk to anybody. You want to stay in your own zone and isolated. I have done that. During Jassi, I used to only listen to sad songs when I was a part of all those crying and sad scenes, because I didn't know. I am not a trained actor. I didn't know how to switch off. So I was only listening to sad songs and crying even more. And I think that was the time I realized I cannot do this with every project. This is just my first.
Hmm.
So, over the years, you learn, you see so many actors in front of you, how they switch off. So I've mastered the act of switching off.
Right. No, I mean, I think it's such an important skill to have. But I think, you know what, I'm following, I mean, you know what, actually, this is really interesting. So I read a comment on YouTube when the trailer had released, and someone had written, virus ki beti ne Raju ke saath shaadi kar li. I was in,
That is so funny.
that was in complete splits, actually, when I read that. So that was really,
Oh my God.
but no, I think Kafas ke baad, I would love to know what else we can see you in. I mean, is there a particular sort of strand of acting that you're really keen on exploring, or a particular character that you would like to, do?
Anuj, I would love to play negative. I never have. And I think my voice is my biggest strength.
Yeah.
And imagine a negative holding a gun with this nice, sweet face. It'll be kick ass.
You know what? It's interesting you said that, because I said the same thing to Moni Roy last year, who did in Brahmastra, actually. Following, we had this.
Ah,
And I was like, you know what? Like, it's so awesome to see someone who can play the pristine, character, who can play the strong character, can easily veer onto the dark side as well.
yeah,
Any
yeah.
offers coming your way yet on that front, or not really?
On the negative front, I'm still keeping my fingers crossed. But otherwise, I have 4 shows up for release. One is coming out in August. One is in October, and I have 2 movies next year. So yeah, my calendar is full.
Oh, wow. I guess you can't shed a bit more light on those projects, can you?
I
Or
won't be able to at the moment. So sorry.
Mona, ye nahi ho sakta. Okay. No, but that's wonderful. I'm very happy to hear. And I think also, Mona, I think the reason why people are able to identify with you is, like you said, not only are you rooted, but I think you've really managed to capture the voice of the common person. चाहे
Yeah,
जो भी character आप play करते हो, and I think a lot of actors have said local is global, and I think you're on the right path by doing that. Really.
thank you. Thank you.
So no, I'm very excited. But look, a huge congratulations on Kafas. It's such a powerful series. I had to binge watch it because it was so, I mean, very
Glad you did.
dramatic, I must say. Of course, it has its realism, but also a lot of
Yeah.
dramatic liberties have been taken as well. But it was
But you
certainly,
see, the most sensitive scenes are not cringeworthy. They've been shot so beautifully.
yeah.
And that's what I was telling our director Sahil and our DOP, that you guys have done a beautiful job. The show in any scene is not cringeworthy. It's very aesthetically shot.
Very, no, very, very, and I think that's the beauty of it. And you know what the thing is, especially with the way it's done, like it seems so real. I feel like we've
Yeah,
seen stories that's kind of similar to this, in real
yeah.
life, that it doesn't seem like a distant or disconnect anymore. And I think that's what really works about the show.
It's
But no,
super
look,
real. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But look, anyways, the show is now streaming on SonyLIV, so it's certainly worth a watch. But Mona, thank you so much for joining me. It's
Thank you,
great
Anuj.
to
Thank
have you.
you.
And please
We
make a
shall
trip
talk
to,
again soon.
yeah, come to London soon, Mona. It'll be good to
How
see
are
you.
you, man?
Oh, good. Perfect. I can't wait.
Bye.
Chalo. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mona. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Bye.
Bye.